So we've done the dismantling and we're about to start the well, what do I even call it, the stripping of the paint and the polishing of the brass, such as it is. There's not much brass. One of the things I've got to do is get that split pin out, and I suddenly had a brainwave. I've got this, my new best friend is this multi-tool, the little oscillating blade on the top. So instead of painstakingly doing like that, you can just hold it in place and go drrr. Well, that's the theory anyway. Then I've got my trusty Dremel with a flexible shaft, and on it I've got a very coarse mop. I've got all kinds, from even coarser than that to ultra fine, and I've just got to find the level at which it's going to take the paint off. Some of the paint is quite flaky, and literally I'm flaking it off like that. Others look, particularly on the inside of the searchlight, it's looking like it might be a bit more difficult to get off, but I'm sure we'll get it off. So let's have a quick look at what we've got here. So the floodlight and the inner, all the various bits. I'm not sure if they're brass. They don't look like they're brass. It'd be nice if they were. The inner ring that holds the glass, the outer ring, the base that sits on there to hold that, and then also hold the stand. So there's a fair bit of I don't quite enjoy this, but again, I don't mind it. I like to see all the rust and dust and paint come off. So I'll crack on. I've got my mask and my ear defenders and my gloves, and I've got Stan, who will just check I'm doing everything correctly. What have you been eating? Yes, you have. Right, so I'm going to crack on. What I think I'm finding at the moment is that there's a really bad coat of black. Looks like it's been painted on with a brush. Underneath that it's cream, and I thought cream might be the original colour, but on the top here where that big mount goes, it's black onto stainless. So I think what's happened is someone has painted over the black with cream, but only going up to where they could get, which tells me that the original colour was black. And also, the other thing that is a bit of a clue is that where the paint is coming through the transfer, that's also black. And you wouldn't, there's nowhere that transfer has been taken off and then painted cream and then put back on again. So I'm going to crack on and get all this off, and then I'm going to repaint it black. Oh dear. Wow. Oh, that was a bit of a marathon. The top black coat came off quite easily. The cream, in places, I think probably where it was not exposed to weather conditions, it was tricky. I found some nice brass bits here. That will polish up. The bottom, I've given it a sand, but the original black is okay. So I'm pretty pleased with that. The only thing I haven't done yet is sand off the Tilly Floodlight projector, which I'm going to do, but I wanted it to be the last thing. So here we go. That, I think, is the hardest bit, because it was not the original paint. It was original with a cream and another paint on top. I'm hoping that the other bits, because they are original, will be a lot easier. I'm really hoping that. I've had a cup of tea, I've washed my face, and I'm ready for round two. So before I put my hazmat suit on, let's see what we're going to be looking at. So I've got to get this off with my multi-tool, and then I'm going to try and clean all this off and see where we go. Well, I've had a good old go at the floodlight casing, and as you can see, it's come up quite nicely. There are some really tricky bits that I'm probably not going to be able to sand into, so I might have to get some, well, almost certainly I'll probably use paint stripper. And the problem I had here was that whereas on the tank there was a black original coat and then a cream over the top and then a nasty black coat, here it was cream. Under the black it was cream, and in a lot of places it was pretty thick, and it took a lot of getting off, which has taken a lot of time. But the nice thing is I have found some little brass bits on either side here and there that I can polish, and there, like brass rivets, I suppose. So I haven't done inside yet. I think that might just be black, and to be fair, I'll probably clean all the rust off, but I am going to spray it with Hammerite, which is a rust, it's a rust converter, and the blurb that comes with it, the technical data, says that it's good to 150 degrees for, you know, occasional use, which this will get. So I'm thinking this bit here is going to be the hottest, but you know, 150 degrees for, you know, an hour or two would probably be fine. So yeah, I am wishing that I started with paint stripper. I've never really used paint stripper apart from on wood, but it might have been a good call here. But hey, the tank's done. This is done virtually, and then we're on to the little fiddly bits like see, my brain's gone. The support, that support, and the edge bit. So I think in real terms we're probably over the hump, as they say. But it has been very interesting. Well, that's the inside done. It was very, very rusty. The main thing is I've got a good key there for the Hammerite I'm putting on, so I'm pretty happy with that. It's not a thing of beauty, but then again, there's going to be a reflector in there. No one's going to see it. I know that's not an excuse for bad workmanship, but there we go, that's what it is. Well, that took a lot longer than I thought it would. When you look at it, it just looks like a flan disc, doesn't it? This is the bottom. So this is where the that fastener goes that I couldn't get off. And inside you can see that we've got some holes. So I guess because this was the bottom, all the condensation sat there. So I'm going to have to do some filling with, I don't know what, some kind of 2-part epoxy filler. Okay, well that's done. Well, I had to take my glasses off, they're all steamed up. So the last thing I did was the stand. I thought it just needed a bit of sanding, but it actually needed a load of rust and stuff grinding off it. It's not perfect by any means, but it's okay. But it's got these little recesses in, which I was reading something that suggested these were the older ones and the modern ones didn't have a recess at all. So anyway, that's that done. So that's all the big stuff done. So this is the brass. I love polishing brass. It's so simple compared to getting layers and layers of paint off. But my nose is all bunged up. Even though I was wearing this, I can hardly smell anything. I can hardly see anything. I feel I've got a terrible cold, but it's just the dust, I think. So that's me done for the day. There's a few little things, the vaporizer and bits and bobs to clean, but that is the main thing. And I'm going in to have a cup of tea. So I've been spending rather more time in my shed than I thought I would, trying to get the various thick layers of cream paint off a few bits. This took a lot of time, but it's going to be worth it when it's finished. There's various bits and bobs here that needed quite a lot of tender loving care. The tank itself, I've had to apply paint strip. I couldn't get the polishing mops into these various crevices, but they've all cleaned up round here, round here. I'm going to need to give this a final clean before I start paint spraying. This has been a joy. There was paint right down in the cracks here, so I've had to work on that, and I've still got to work out how I'm going to fill those holes. I think I'm going to use some epoxy putty, but that isn't very thick, so I'm hoping it's going to work. We'll see. So that's that. This has taken quite a lot of layers of paint stripper to get right in the bits and bobs, and round the side, and round the side, and round the back, and down there behind the support. But it's all done now. So just getting the last bits off. It's a messy old job. To be honest, I'm in two minds about whether using paint stripper on the whole thing would have been a good idea. I know I got very messy with dry powder from the paint, but I kind of feel as if it's actually better than this. Although clearly for something like this there's nothing else you can do really. So maybe it's a bit of both. And then I've been doing a little bit of fettling on the top of the burner and the burner cap, and I've given these a bit of a polish. I was really hoping they'd be brass, but they're not, but they should come up nicely. They've I've got all the rust off and the grot, so once they're painted black, sprayed black, they should be nice. Right, can't do much more until my putty arrives. Well, I'm having one of those one step forward, two steps back days with my floodlight. I've kind of decided to do a dry fit, as they say, because when I took it to bits, I was basically just undoing stuff without really understanding where it all went. So now it's all cleaned. I haven't painted it yet, but I thought I would put it back together. So if you've not seen a stainless steel FL6, here is one. So I haven't put the glass in yet, but I have cleaned the glass, and I was quite surprised, you could say delighted, to see that I don't know if you can even see that, but it says armour plated. It is pretty thick. I'd be very surprised if you coated a tank with that, it would stop a shell. But nevertheless, it's comforting to know that it is, I expect that was probably a marketing ploy for toughened glass. So that's not in, but all the gubbins are in. I had a bit of a tricky thing, so I put this reflector in, and then I couldn't put these in because the holes were down there, and I thought, what's going on? And then I realised I'd got this upside down, and the dirty great hole goes here to take all the heat and gas out there. The other thing I discovered was that I've located the brass ring so that it matches up with the hole there, it matches up with the hole there. There's also a couple of, and being a bit of a muppet, that's also a hole for a screw. And what have I done? I've gone and put some of that epoxy in there, so I've got to drill through that. But there's one up here that should have a hole where it does according to this, but it hasn't got one. There's one there, and then there's one around the other side where, according to the ring, there should be a hole, and there isn't. So when I took this to bits, I thought I was missing a couple of screws, but I think with hindsight, I'm probably not. It's just a... so I've polished up all this. I'm actually thinking of leaving the brass and all these bits brassy, and all these bits brassy. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to spray this and not spray those, so I think what I might try and do is get some grease and just rub it on them so that the paint won't stick to it, and then hopefully I can rub it all off again. So the handle just needs, I'm probably going to stain it and then put some Danish oil or something on it. The handle at the back here, similar. I've spent ages polishing these tiny little nuts that go all round the edge. A number of times they flew off, and I've been on my hands and knees. I'm not quite sure how to polish the nuts, and I know everyone's going to go, Len, when they're in there, no one's going to see the nuts. I know. Oh, and the other, when I said one step forward, two steps back, so this, which goes on here, it was very loose, and unfortunately it's now come off. I think I can put that back on with a bit of the epoxy, and no one will know. But, and this is the real annoying thing, the split pin went through there, so I got the split pin out, and then I didn't quite realise initially that this is actually a screw thread, or I think it's a screw thread, but it's absolutely seized solid. So what I did was I put a little screwdriver in there and tried to turn it. And what did I do? I managed to shear off the head. And now in trying to get the that out of there, I've completely mucked it up. So I'm probably going to have to try and find another one, if that is even possible, or come up with another way of closing it down here. So that's what I mean, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So tomorrow the plan is to deconstruct it again, and this time spray everything, and then when it's all dry, put it back together. So we're getting close to the finishing line. I just hope nothing else breaks. Well, the great day's arrived, the great day of the spraying of the floodlight. So just thought I'd share, this is patented by the way, so no one else can use it, how you clean tiny little nuts. What I did was I threaded them onto a piece of wire, and then I got my Dremel and I polished them, and it took about 10 seconds, and not once did any of them go flying underneath the workbench. So I didn't spend any time on my hands and knees, so that's brilliant. Right, now for the spraying. Let me just show you the so this is the work I did on the rotted out bits of metal. I used that padding, that epoxy putty, put it in quite thick. So when it was dry, I just got a grinding wheel, a sort of light grinding wheel, and just flattened it. So I'm deconstructing now in order to spray. Who knew that on the bottom of this was this lovely, hidden completely obviously, 1285 Tilly Hendon. I think it's 1285. Yeah, I think it is. Tilly Hendon. Never seen unless you deconstruct it. And none of this brass work will be seen either, it'll all be hidden. But there you go. So I'm using a cotton bud and some grease, and I'm just rubbing some grease on each of these brass heads. It's a bit fiddly. That's all done inside and out, and I know no one's going to see that because the reflectors are going to be in there, but I just feel I need to do that. So we're now about to put this beast together again. The stand has been painted, and I just wanted to show you the results of cleaning the brass and putting the grease on them, and then putting several coats of paint on, and they've come off quite well. And then up here as well, we've got some nice rivets there. We've got some nice rivets along here, and we've got some nice rivets along here, just to make a little bit of a difference. And then, because I've cleaned up the inside, including the nuts, they're all nice and clean. The glass is in, and the little brass nuts around the edge look quite nice. Just take a tip from me, okay? If you've cleaned the glass and laid it to one side ready to put it in, and then you look at the casing and think, do you know what, I think I'll give it one more coat of Hammerite spray paint, do make sure that the overspill from the paint can't reach the glass, because if it does and you let it dry because you haven't realised, you're going to spend ages with some meths and one of these pads cleaning all the tiny thousands of little globules of black paint off. I'm not saying I've done that, I'm just saying, you know, don't. So much fiddle-faddling around later. We've got the glass in. We've got the all the burner in. Just needs a mantle. All the little brass screws are in there. All the little brass screws are up there. And all the little brass screws around there. Bit of brass around there. Brass around there. Otherwise, the whole thing is matte black with obviously that. You can't see all the tank supports anymore. The pump is all good to go. That's all been sanded, and I've used a wax, a pine coloured wax. And then the on the back we've got the tank, the handle with nice brass bits. So basically the whole thing is good to go. I thought I'd put these in straight, but they've come out at an angle. Never mind, who cares? I might just straighten them up. Yeah, so next thing is going to be a mantle, paraffining the tank, checking for leaks, and boom! So I'm going to move the meat thermometer that I've got, which and I'm going to put it up top there because that's where the temperature will be at its highest, and let's just see how it climbs. I'm pretty sure that the Hammerite paint said it was good for 154, I think. I will check.